If you are listening to my voice today, thank you. Thank you for giving a few moments of your precious life to an old woman whose journey is slowly coming to an end. I do not know your name. I do not know where you live. I do not know what struggles you are carrying in your heart. But I know something about life. I know something about pain. I know something about love, regret, hope, and the passing of time, because I have lived long enough to see all of them. Today, I sit quietly near my window. The world outside is moving as it always has. Cars pass by. People hurry from one place to another. Children laugh somewhere in the distance. Birds continue singing their songs as if nothing has changed. But for me, everything feels different. When you reach this stage of life, time begins to look different. When you are young, you believe life is endless. You think there will always be another tomorrow. Another opportunity, another chance to say what needs to be said. But one day, you wake up and realize that life is not measured by how many years remain. It is measured by the memories that stay behind. I remember being a little girl. I remember running through fields without worrying about tomorrow. I remember believing that adults had all the answers. I thought growing older would make life simple. I was wrong. Growing older does not give you all the answers. Instead, it teaches you how many questions never truly have answers. Life surprised me more times than I can count. Some days brought happiness beyond my imagination. Other days brought pain that I thought would break me forever. I fell in love. I lost people I loved. I made mistakes. I carried regrets. I celebrated victories. I cried through losses. And somehow, through all of it, life kept moving forward. That is one of the greatest lessons I have learned. Life never stops. The world does not pause because our hearts are hurting. The sun still rises after our darkest nights. The seasons continue changing. The years continue passing. And whether we are ready or not, life continues carrying us forward. There were moments when I thought I had plenty of time. I postponed phone calls. I delayed visits. I assumed there would always be another holiday, another birthday, another family gathering. But now, looking back, I realized something painful. Many of those opportunities never returned. The people we love do not stay forever. One day, the chair they sat in becomes empty. One day, the voice we always expected to hear becomes silent. One day, the person we planned to visit next week is no longer there. If I could give one message to every young person listening today, it would be this: do not wait. Do not wait to tell someone you love them. Do not wait to forgive. Do not wait to call your parents. Do not wait to hug your children. Do not wait to spend time with the people who matter most. Because time moves faster than you think. I know this because I lived it. I still remember holding my newborn child for the first time. It feels like yesterday, yet decades have passed. I remember school graduations, family vacations, Christmas mornings, birthday candles, wedding celebrations, and somehow, those moments that once felt so large have become small photographs stored in memory. Life is strange that way. Years feel long while we are living them, but when we look back, they feel like pages turning in a book. One page, then another, then another. Suddenly, the story is nearly finished, and that realization changes everything. You begin caring less about money, less about status, less about impressing strangers. You begin caring more about kindness, more about family, more about peace, more about the simple moments that once seemed ordinary. I wish I had learned that lesson sooner. I spent too many years worrying about things that never truly mattered. I worried about what others thought of me. I worried about mistakes. I worried about problems that eventually disappeared on their own. Now I realize that most of those worries were thieves. They stole precious moments that I can never get back. If only I had known. If only I had understood that happiness is often found in ordinary days, not in grand achievements, not in perfect circumstances, but in simple moments. A morning coffee, a conversation with a friend, a family dinner, a walk beneath the evening sky, the laughter of someone you love. These are the treasures that remain. Everything else eventually fades. As I sit here today, I find myself thinking less about what I owned and more about who I loved. Because possessions do not sit beside you when you grow old. Love does. Memories do. Relationships do. That is what remains when everything else falls away. And so if you are younger than me, please listen carefully. Build your life around people, not possessions. Around relationships, not recognition. Around love, not applause. Because at the end of the journey, those are the things that matter most. I know my time is becoming shorter. I feel it, not with fear, not with sadness, but with understanding. Every life has a beginning. Every life has an ending. And somewhere in between, we are given a chance to create a story worth remembering. My story has not been perfect. Far from it. But it has been real. And if there is one thing I want to leave behind, it is this simple truth. A meaningful life is not a perfect life. A meaningful life is a life filled with love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. If you have those things, you are richer than you realize. As I look out this window today, watching another sunset paint the sky, I am reminded of something beautiful. The sunset does not apologize for ending. It simply shares its beauty and then quietly disappears beyond the horizon. Perhaps that is how life is meant to be. We arrive, we love, we learn, we leave. And in between, we try our best to make the world a little warmer for those who come after us. That is my message today. Not as an expert, not as someone who lived a perfect life, but simply as an elderly woman who has walked a long road and wants to share what she has learned before her journey comes to an end. And if my words touch even one heart, then perhaps this message will continue traveling long after I am gone. As I grow older, there is something I think about more than anything else. It is not money. It is not success. It is not the house I lived in or the things I owned. It is people. The people who once filled my life. The people whose voices I can still hear in my memories. The people whose laughter still echoes in the quiet corners of my heart. When you are young, you rarely think about losing people. You assume they will always be there. You believe there will always be another conversation, another holiday, another opportunity to sit together around the dinner table. But life has a way of teaching difficult lessons. One by one, people leave. Sometimes they move away. Sometimes relationships fade. And sometimes they leave this world forever. I have lost many people during my lifetime. Parents, friends, neighbors, relatives, people I loved deeply, people who helped shape the person I became. The older you get, the longer the list becomes, and every loss leaves a mark. Not always a visible mark, but a mark on the heart. There was a time when my home was always full, children running through the hallways, family members visiting, conversations lasting late into the night, laughter coming from every room. Back then, I never imagined there would come a day when silence would become my most frequent companion. Yet here I am, sitting quietly, listening to clocks tick, listening to the wind outside my window, listening to memories. Sometimes I close my eyes and travel back in time. I remember my mother's voice calling my name. I remember my father's advice. I remember family dinners where everyone talked at once. I remember arguments that seemed important at the time but now feel so small. Funny, isn't it? The things we once worried about often become meaningless years later. The arguments, the misunderstandings, the hurt feelings. Most of them disappear, but love remains. Love always remains. If I could revisit those moments, I would spend less time being angry and more time being grateful. I would hug people longer. I would listen more carefully. I would tell them how much they meant to me. Because once someone is gone, there are no second chances. There are no additional conversations. There are no opportunities to say the words left unspoken. There is only memory, and memory can be both beautiful and painful. Sometimes I find myself smiling at old memories. Other times, tears quietly find their way into my eyes, not because I am unhappy, but because love never truly leaves us. When someone means enough to us, we carry them forever. even after they are gone. There are people I still talk to in my heart, people who left this world years ago. Sometimes I look at an old photograph and suddenly feel as though they are sitting beside me again. For a brief moment, the years disappear. The distance disappears. The loss disappears. And all that remains is love. That is one of the greatest gifts memory gives us. It allows us to visit people we can no longer touch. As an elderly woman, I have learned something important. The greatest tragedy is not death. The greatest tragedy is allowing pride, anger, or stubbornness to separate us while we are still alive. I have seen families stop speaking to each other for years. I have seen brothers become strangers. I have seen children drift away from parents. I have seen friendships end over misunderstandings that no one even remembers anymore. And every time I witness this, my heart hurts, because life is shorter than we realize. Far shorter. One day, one of those people will be gone. Then all the anger in the world will not matter. All the pride in the world will not matter. All the arguments will not matter. Only love will matter. Only memories will matter. Only the time spent together will matter. That is why I want to say something to anyone listening who is carrying resentment in their heart. Please do not wait forever. Please do not assume there will always be more time. Reach out if you can. Forgive if you can. Have the conversation if you can. Life is too precious to spend it building walls. I know forgiveness is not always easy. Some wounds run deep. Some hurts take years to heal. But carrying bitterness is like carrying a heavy stone. The longer you hold it, the heavier it becomes. Eventually, it steals your peace, and peace is too valuable to lose. As I sit here reflecting on my life, I realize that some of my happiest memories are surprisingly ordinary. Not grand celebrations, not major achievements, just simple moments. Sharing coffee with a friend, watching children play, holding someone's hand, listening to stories, laughing until tears filled our eyes. Those moments seemed small at the time, yet now they shine brighter than almost everything else. That is another lesson age teaches. The little moments are actually the big moments. We just do not recognize them when they happen. I remember sitting on a porch many years ago with someone I loved. We talked about nothing important. The weather, the neighbors, life. At the time, it felt like an ordinary evening. Today, it is one of my most treasured memories. Why? Because that person is gone, and what remains is not what we discussed. What remains is how they made me feel. Loved, safe, connected. That feeling is priceless. Perhaps that is what people truly remember about us. Not our achievements, not our possessions, not our titles. They remember how we made them feel. Did we make them feel valued? Did we make them feel heard? Did we make them feel loved? Those are the questions that matter. As my own journey continues toward its final chapter, I think about the people I miss. I think about the faces I wish I could see one more time. I think about the voices I wish I could hear again. And if somehow they could hear me now, I would simply say thank you. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the laughter. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the love. Because every person who enters our lives leaves something behind. A lesson, a memory, a piece of themselves. And together, those pieces become part of who we are. So if you are listening today, please cherish the people around you. Call your parents. Spend time with your children. Check on your friends. Tell people what they mean to you. Not someday. Today. Because none of us know how many tomorrows we have left. And one day, when you sit where I am sitting now, looking back over your life, you will not wish you had worked more. You will not wish you had worried more. You will not wish you had spent more time chasing things. You will wish you had spent more time with people. The people who made life beautiful. The people who made life meaningful. The people whose absence now teaches you just how precious their presence truly was. That is my message in this chapter of my story. Love people while they are here. Treasure them while you can. And never underestimate the power of a simple moment shared with someone you care about, because someday, that ordinary moment may become one of the most extraordinary memories you ever have. There is something many people do not talk about when they speak of growing old. They talk about gray hair. They talk about wrinkles. They talk about slower steps and aching joints. But very few people talk about regrets. And yet, regrets are some of the heaviest things we carry through life. As I sit here today, looking back over the many decades I have lived, I can honestly say that my life was filled with blessings. But it was also filled with mistakes. Mistakes I wish I had not made. Words I wish I had not spoken. Opportunities I wish I had not ignored. Moments I wish I had appreciated more. If I am being truthful, there were times in my life when I thought I had all the time in the world. I believed I could always fix things later. I believed there would always be another chance, another day, another opportunity. But life does not always work that way. Sometimes the door closes before we are ready. Sometimes people leave before we say what needs to be said. Sometimes opportunities disappear and never return. One of my greatest regrets was spending too much time worrying. I worried about money. I worried about what other people thought. I worried about making mistakes. I worried about things that never even happened. And now, looking back, I realize how much life I missed while I was busy worrying. There were beautiful days I failed to enjoy because my mind was trapped inside tomorrow. There were peaceful moments I failed to appreciate because I was focused on problems that did not yet exist. Worry promised protection, but instead, it stole joy. Maybe someone listening today needs to hear that. Most of the things keeping you awake at night may never happen. Most of the fears that seem overwhelming today may eventually disappear. Do not allow fear to steal the present moment, because the present moment is where life actually happens. I also regret some of the times I stayed silent. There were moments when I should have spoken words of love. Moments when I should have apologized. Moments when I should have encouraged someone. Moments when I should have stood up for myself, but I remained silent, sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of pride, sometimes because I assumed there would be another opportunity. Years later, I realized silence can create regrets that last a lifetime. There are people I wish I had thanked more. People who helped me during difficult seasons. People who believed in me when I doubted myself. People who sacrificed for me. At the time, I thought they knew how grateful I was. But now I understand something important. People need to hear those words. Never assume someone knows how much they matter. Tell them. Life becomes much richer when gratitude is spoken aloud. Another regret I carried for many years involved forgiveness. There were people who hurt me, people who disappointed me, people who broke promises. For a long time, I carried those wounds everywhere I went. I replayed old arguments in my mind. I revisited painful memories. I kept alive anger that should have been released years earlier. What I did not understand was that resentment hurts the person carrying it. The other person may move on. They may sleep peacefully. They may continue living their life. Meanwhile, you carry the burden every day. Eventually, I learned to forgive, not because people always deserved it, not because the pain magically disappeared, but because I deserved peace. And peace was impossible while I continued carrying bitterness. Forgiveness did not change the past, but it changed my future. That lesson came slowly. Age has a way of teaching lessons that youth often ignores. I also regret spending too much time comparing myself to others. When I was younger, I often looked at other people's lives and thought they had everything figured out. I believed everyone else was happier, more successful, more fortunate, more confident. But the truth is that every person carries struggles you cannot see. Every family faces difficulties. Every heart carries hidden battles. The people who appear strongest often cry when no one is watching. The people who seem happiest may be fighting silent pain. The people who look successful may feel completely lost inside. comparison is a dangerous illusion. It convinces us that everyone else has a better life, but we rarely see the full story. I wasted precious years chasing expectations that were never truly mine, trying to impress people whose opinions ultimately did not matter, trying to meet standards that brought little happiness. Now I realize that the only life we are meant to live is our own. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you begin finding peace. Perhaps my deepest regret is simpler than all the others. I regret not realizing sooner how quickly life passes. When I was 20, old age seemed impossible. When I was 30, retirement felt distant. When I was 40, I thought I still had endless time. When I was 50, I believed there would always be more years ahead. Then suddenly, the decades seemed to vanish. The children grew up. The parents grew old. The friends changed. The world changed. And one day I looked in the mirror and saw an elderly woman staring back at me. Not because life is unfair, but because life moves faster than we imagine. If I could speak to my younger self, I would tell her this: slow down. Notice the sunsets. Take more photographs. Laugh more often. Spend less time chasing perfection. Spend more time creating memories. Hold your loved ones close. Put down the worries that do not matter. Life is happening right now. Not someday. Not next year. Not after you solve every problem. Right now. The funny thing about regrets is that they can either become prisons or teachers. For many years, some of my regrets felt like prisons. I replayed mistakes again and again. I judged myself harshly. I focused on what I should have done differently. But eventually I realized something important. The past cannot be changed. No amount of guilt can rewrite yesterday. No amount of regret can return lost opportunities. The only thing we can do is learn, grow, move forward. That is why I no longer see my regrets as enemies. I see them as teachers. Every mistake taught me something. Every failure taught me something. Every disappointment taught me something. Every heartbreak taught me something. The lessons were often painful, but they were valuable. And perhaps that is what life is. Not a journey of perfection, but a journey of learning. Learning how to love. Learning how to forgive. Learning how to let go. Learning how to appreciate what truly matters. Today, as I reflect on my life, I no longer focus on the mistakes alone. Instead, I focus on the wisdom they left behind. The wisdom that says love more freely. The wisdom that says forgive more quickly. The wisdom that says worry less. The wisdom that says cherish ordinary moments. The wisdom that says life is far shorter than we think. If you are listening to my voice today, perhaps you still have years ahead of you. Years to make different choices. Years to heal old wounds. Years to say the words that need to be spoken. Years to create memories that will one day warm your heart. Please do not wait. Do not assume there will always be more time. Use the time you have now. Because one day, like me, you may sit quietly and look back over your journey. And when that day comes, I hope your heart is filled with fewer regrets and more gratitude. More peace. More love. More memories that make you smile. Because in the end, those are the treasures that truly matter. And those are the treasures no one can ever take away. When people talk about growing old, they often focus on what is lost. They talk about fading strength. They talk about wrinkles. They talk about slower movements and changing health. And yes, those things are real. I would be dishonest if I pretended otherwise. There are mornings when my body reminds me that I am no longer young. There are days when simple tasks require more effort than they once did. There are moments when I miss the energy I had decades ago. But there is another side of growing old that few people talk about. There are blessings hidden within old age. Blessings that can only be discovered after walking through many seasons of life. The truth is that age has given me something youth never could: perspective. When you are young, everything feels urgent. Every problem feels enormous. Every disappointment feels permanent. Every setback feels like the end of the world. But after living through many decades, you begin to see life differently. You realize that most storms eventually pass. You realize that heartbreak can heal. You realize that failures can become lessons. You realize that some of the things that once seemed devastating eventually become distant memories. I remember problems that kept me awake at night many years ago. At the time, they felt overwhelming. I thought I would never recover from them. Yet today, I can barely remember some of those worries. Life moved forward. Healing happened. New chapters began. That is one of the gifts of age. It teaches you that difficult seasons do not last forever. If someone listening today is going through a hard time, I want you to hear this message from an old woman who has survived many storms. Keep going. The chapter you are living today is not the entire story. Some of the brightest moments of your life may still be waiting ahead. I know because I have experienced it myself. There were seasons when I thought happiness had left forever. Then unexpectedly, joy returned. There were seasons when I felt lost. Then unexpectedly, clarity arrived. There were seasons when my heart felt broken. Then unexpectedly, healing appeared. Life has a remarkable way of surprising us. One of the greatest blessings I discovered in old age is gratitude. When I was younger, I often focused on what was missing. The things I wanted, the goals I had not reached, the problems I hoped to solve. I spent too much time looking toward the horizon and not enough time appreciating what was already in front of me. Age changed that. Today, I find myself grateful for things I once overlooked. A peaceful morning, a warm cup of coffee, a phone call from someone I love, a sunny afternoon, the sound of birds outside my window, a comfortable chair, a quiet moment of reflection, simple things, beautiful things, things that cost very little but mean so much. The older I became, the more I realized that happiness rarely arrives through extraordinary events. Most happiness arrives through ordinary moments. Unfortunately, many people spend their entire lives chasing extraordinary moments while overlooking the ordinary blessings surrounding them every day. I know because I did it too. Another hidden blessing of old age is freedom. Not the freedom that comes from wealth or status. A different kind of freedom. The freedom of caring less about what others think. When I was younger, I worried constantly about opinions. I wanted people to approve of me. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to avoid criticism. But with age came a surprising realization. No matter what you do, someone will disagree with you. No matter how hard you try, you cannot make everyone happy. And once you understand that, something wonderful happens. You stop living for the approval of strangers. You start living according to your values. You become more authentic, more honest, more peaceful. That freedom is priceless. I wish I had discovered it decades earlier. Old age has also taught me the value of silence. Not loneliness, not isolation. Silence. There is a difference. When I was young, I filled every moment with activity. There was always somewhere to go, something to do, someone to impress, another task waiting to be completed. Life felt like a race. But now, I treasure quiet moments. Moments when I can sit alone and listen to my thoughts. Moments when I can watch the sunrise. Moments when I can simply exist without rushing toward the next obligation. Silence has become one of my greatest teachers. It has taught me patience. It has taught me reflection. It has taught me gratitude. And perhaps most importantly, it has taught me to appreciate the present moment. Because the present moment is all any of us truly have. The past exists only in memory. The future exists only in imagination. But this moment, the one you are living right now, is real. That understanding changes everything. Another blessing I found in old age is the ability to recognize what truly matters. For much of my life, I believed success was measured by achievements, by accomplishments, by possessions, by goals reached and dreams fulfilled. But now I see success differently. Success is not measured by what you accumulate. It is measured by what you contribute. It is measured by kindness, by compassion, by generosity, by love. The people who made the biggest difference in my life were not always the richest or most successful. They were the kindest, the most caring, the most genuine. Those are the people who remain unforgettable. And those are the qualities I admire most today. Old age has also given me a deeper appreciation for resilience. When I look back over my life, I am amazed by how much the human heart can survive. Loss, disappointment, failure, break, grief, fear. Yet somehow we continue. Somehow we find the strength to keep moving forward. Sometimes one step at a time, sometimes one day at a time. But we continue. That realization fills me with respect for every person listening today. Because if you are here, it means you have survived every difficult day that came before this one. Every challenge, every setback, every heartbreak. You are stronger than you realize. Life taught me that strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is continuing despite the pain. Strength is refusing to give up. Strength is choosing hope even when circumstances feel uncertain. As I sit here today, reflecting on everything life has taught me, I realize that old age is not merely about endings. It is also about understanding. Understanding what matters, understanding what lasts, understanding what deserves our attention and what does not. The wisdom did not arrive all at once. It arrived slowly, through mistakes, through losses, through victories, through experience. And perhaps that is why it feels so valuable. It was earned, one lesson at a time, 1 year at a time, one season at a time. If I could leave one message from this chapter of my story, it would be this: do not fear growing older. Every season of life contains its own gifts. Youth brings energy. Middle age brings responsibility. Old age brings wisdom. Each stage offers something beautiful. Each stage has something to teach. And while aging may take certain things away, it also gives things in return: perspective, gratitude, peace, understanding, and a deeper appreciation for the miracle of simply being alive. Today, despite the wrinkles on my face and the years behind me, I feel grateful. Grateful for the people I loved. Grateful for the lessons I learned. Grateful for the mistakes that taught me wisdom. Grateful for the challenges that made me stronger. Grateful for every sunrise I have witnessed. Grateful for every memory I carry. Because when I look back over my life, I no longer see only hardships. I see blessings. Thousands of blessings. Some large, some small, many hidden until years later. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson old age has given me. A beautiful life is not a life without struggles. A beautiful life is a life that discovers gratitude in the middle of those struggles. And that gratitude has become one of the greatest treasures I have ever found. As I sit here today, looking out at the world through eyes that have witnessed many decades, I find myself thinking about something we rarely discuss. Goodbyes. Not the everyday goodbyes. Not the kind we say at the end of a phone call. Not the kind we say when leaving a friend's house. I mean the final goodbye. The goodbye that every one of us will eventually face. When I was young, I never thought much about it. Death felt distant. It belonged to another generation. It seemed like something that happened to other people. But age has a way of changing your perspective. As the years pass, you begin to understand that life is not endless. You begin to realize that every sunrise is a gift. Every conversation is a gift. Every hug is a gift. Every ordinary day is a gift. Because none of us know how many remain. That realization can sound frightening, but strangely, it has brought me peace. Not fear, not despair. Peace. Because when you truly accept that life is temporary, you begin to appreciate it more deeply. You stop taking people for granted. You stop postponing joy. You stop assuming there will always be more time. And you start paying attention, really paying attention, to the people you love, to the beauty around you, to the moments that make life meaningful. I often wonder what people think about during the final chapters of their lives. Perhaps some think about unfinished dreams. Perhaps some think about missed opportunities. Perhaps some think about accomplishments. For me, it is much simpler. I think about love, the love I received, the love I gave, the love that carried me through difficult seasons. The love that remained even when everything else changed. Love has been the greatest gift of my life. Not perfect love, not storybook love, real love. The kind that survives hardships, the kind that forgives mistakes, the kind that stays when life becomes difficult. That kind of love is priceless. If this were truly my final message, there are many things I would want people to know. I would want them to know that perfection is not necessary. So many people spend their lives trying to become perfect, trying to avoid mistakes, trying to meet impossible expectations, trying to create a flawless life. But perfection does not exist, and chasing it often steals happiness. I have never met a perfect person. I have never lived a perfect day. I have never experienced a perfect life. Yet life can still be beautiful. Beautiful because of its imperfections. Beautiful because of its lessons. Beautiful because of its humanity. I would also want people to know that kindness matters more than they realize. You may never know the impact of a small act of kindness. A smile, a kind word, a helping hand, a moment of patience, a gesture of compassion. Sometimes those small actions become unforgettable to the person receiving them. Throughout my life, I have forgotten many things. I have forgotten addresses. I have forgotten names. I have forgotten countless details. But I have never forgotten the people who were kind to me when I needed it most. Their kindness became part of my story, and perhaps your kindness is becoming part of someone else's story right now. I would want people to know that success is often misunderstood. The world teaches us to measure success through money, titles, achievements, and recognition. But from where I sit today, near the end of a long journey, success looks different. Success is having people who genuinely care about you. Success is loving and being loved. Success is having peace in your heart. Success is knowing you tried your best. Success is leaving the world a little better than you found it. Those things matter far more than any trophy or title. As I think about saying goodbye someday, I do not find myself counting accomplishments. I find myself counting blessings. The people I loved, the friendships I experienced, the laughter I shared, the lessons I learned, the beautiful ordinary days that once seemed insignificant. Those are the treasures I carry, and they are enough. There is something else I want to say. To anyone listening who feels lost, to anyone carrying grief, to anyone struggling through a difficult season, please do not give up. I know life can be painful. I know there are days when the weight feels unbearable. I know there are moments when hope seems far away, but I have lived long enough to know that difficult chapters do not last forever. The story keeps moving. The pages keep turning. And often, the chapter that follows is one you never expected. Some of the most beautiful moments of my life arrived after some of the hardest. Some of my greatest joys arrived after periods of sorrow. Some of my deepest peace arrived after seasons of uncertainty. Keep going. Your story is not finished yet. Another thing I have learned is that life becomes richer when we focus on giving rather than receiving. The happiest people I have known were not always the wealthiest. They were often the most generous, the most compassionate, the most willing to help others. Giving creates a different kind of wealth, a wealth that cannot be measured in dollars, a wealth measured in relationships, in memories, in gratitude, in meaning. And meaning is one of the most valuable things a person can possess. As I look back now, I realize something extraordinary. Despite all the challenges, despite the losses, despite the mistakes, despite the heartbreaks, I am grateful for my life, every chapter, even the difficult ones, because each experience shaped who I became. Each challenge taught me something. Each loss deepened my appreciation for love. Each mistake brought wisdom. And together, those experiences created a life worth living. Perhaps that is the secret many people spend years searching for. A meaningful life is not built by avoiding pain. A meaningful life is built by finding purpose, love, and gratitude along the way. If this were truly my final goodbye, I would not want people to remember me for accomplishments. I would want them to remember the love, the kindness, the laughter, the encouragement, the moments shared. Because those things continue long after we are gone. Our words remain. Our influence remains. The love we gave remains. And in that sense, perhaps we never truly disappear. Pieces of us continue living in the hearts of others, in the lessons we taught, in the memories we created, in the lives we touched. That thought brings me comfort, because it means every act of kindness matters. Every expression of love matters. Every moment matters. And so, before this chapter closes, I want to leave you with one final thought. Life is precious, far more precious than we often realize. Do not rush through it. Do not waste it chasing things that do not truly matter. Spend time with people you love. Create memories. Forgive mistakes. Express gratitude. Choose kindness. And appreciate the gift of being here. Because one day, all of us will reach the point where we look back over our journey. And when that day comes, I hope your heart is filled not with regret, but with gratitude. Not with bitterness, but with peace. Not with sadness alone, but with the warmth of a life that was fully lived. That is my wish for you. And if this were my final goodbye, it would be enough. If you have stayed with me until this moment, thank you. Thank you for listening to the reflections of an elderly woman whose journey has been long, imperfect, beautiful, painful, and deeply human. Perhaps we will never meet. Perhaps after this message ends, our paths will never cross again. But for these few moments, our lives have touched. And before we part ways, there are a few final things I want to leave behind. Not possessions, not achievements, not titles, just lessons. Simple lessons gathered over a lifetime. Lessons written not in books, but in tears. Lessons learned through love. Lessons earned through mistakes. Lessons discovered through loss, hope, forgiveness, and time. When I look back over my life now, I do not see a perfect story. I see a story filled with unexpected turns. I see dreams that came true and dreams that did not. I see victories that made me smile and failures that made me stronger. I see moments of courage and moments of fear. I see times when I made the right choice and times when I made the wrong one. But most importantly, I see a life that was lived. And perhaps that is enough. For many years, I believed life was about reaching a destination. I thought happiness was waiting somewhere in the future. After the next promotion, after the next goal, after the next achievement, after the next problem was solved. But I was wrong. Happiness was never hiding in the future. It was quietly waiting in the present. It was hidden inside ordinary days, inside conversations, inside family dinners, inside sunsets, inside laughter, inside simple moments I often rushed past without noticing. How many beautiful moments did I overlook because I was too busy chasing the next thing? How many blessings stood right in front of me while I was looking somewhere else? I do not know. But I hope you learn this lesson sooner than I did. Please do not spend your entire life waiting to be happy. Life is happening now, not tomorrow, not next year, not when circumstances become perfect. Now, this moment, this breath, this day. Another lesson I learned is that love matters more than almost everything else. When people are young, they often believe life is about collecting things, money, possessions, achievements, recognition. But eventually, you discover that none of those things sit beside your bed when life becomes difficult. None of those things hold your hand. None of those things comfort your heart. People do. Love does. Relationships do. The older I became, the more I realized that the true wealth of a person is measured by the love they share and the love they receive. Everything else eventually fades. Love remains. Always. If you are fortunate enough to have people who care about you, treasure them. Tell them you love them. Call them. Visit them. Listen to them. Create memories with them. One day, those memories may become your greatest treasures. And one day, you may wish for just one more conversation, one more laugh, one more hug, one more ordinary day together. Do not wait until it is too late. Another truth I discovered is that forgiveness is freedom. For many years, I carried old wounds, old disappointments, old resentments. I believed holding on to anger somehow protected me. But it did not. It only made my heart heavier. The day I finally learned to forgive was the day I began to feel lighter. Forgiveness does not excuse harmful actions. Forgiveness does not erase painful memories. Forgiveness simply allows your heart to stop carrying a burden it was never meant to carry forever. Some of you listening today may still be carrying that burden. If possible, put it down. Not because the past did not hurt, but because your future deserves peace. Life is too short to spend it imprisoned by yesterday. I also want to speak to those who feel they have made too many mistakes. Perhaps you regret decisions. Perhaps you feel you wasted years. Perhaps you wish you could start over. Please listen carefully. Every life contains mistakes. Every person carries regrets. Every human being has chapters they wish had unfolded differently. You are not alone. The mistakes you made do not define your entire story. What defines your story is what you choose to do next. Growth is always possible. Healing is always possible. Hope is always possible. As long as you are breathing, your story is still being written. Never forget that. One thing that surprises many people about old age is how quickly life seems to pass. When I was young, years felt long. Today, decades feel short. I can still remember childhood memories as if they happened yesterday. I can still remember holding loved ones who are no longer here. I can still remember moments that shaped my life. Time moves quietly, almost invisibly. Then one day you realize how far you have traveled. That realization is why I urge you to slow down sometimes. Notice the sunrise. Watch the sunset. Listen when someone is speaking. Put away distractions. Be fully present. The moments that seem ordinary today may become priceless memories tomorrow. Do not rush through your life so quickly that you forget to live it. Another lesson I want to leave behind is this: be kind. Not because the world always deserves kindness, but because kindness changes lives. You never truly know what someone else is carrying. The person smiling may be hurting. The person succeeding may be struggling. The person sitting quietly may be fighting a battle no one else can see. A kind word can change someone's day. A compassionate gesture can change someone's week. A moment of understanding can change someone's life. Never underestimate the power of kindness. I have lived long enough to know that people rarely remember what you owned. They rarely remember your job title. They rarely remember how much money you made. But they remember how you treated them. They remember how you made them feel. That is your true legacy. As I near the end of this message, I find myself thinking about something beautiful. A candle. Imagine a single candle burning in a dark room. That candle may seem small. Its light may seem limited. But then it lights another candle, and that candle lights another, and another, and another. Eventually, the entire room begins to glow. Life works the same way. Every act of love lights another heart. Every act of kindness creates another act of kindness. Every word of encouragement inspires another person. We influence people in ways we may never fully understand. Perhaps that is how our presence continues long after we are gone. Not through monuments, not through possessions, but through the lives we touched, through the kindness we shared, through the love we gave. That thought fills me with peace, because it means no good deed is ever wasted. No loving word is ever wasted. No moment of compassion is ever wasted. Everything matters, even when we cannot see the results immediately. And now, if this truly were my final message, there is only one thing left to say. Do not be afraid to live. Do not be afraid to love. Do not be afraid to dream. Do not be afraid to forgive. Do not be afraid to begin again. Life will never be perfect. There will be losses. There will be disappointments. There will be tears. But there will also be laughter. There will be friendship. There will be hope. There will be beautiful moments that make the difficult ones worthwhile. And when your own journey eventually reaches its final chapter, I hope you can look back with gratitude, not because everything went perfectly, but because you lived, because you loved, because you learned, because you shared your light with others. And if you can say those things, then your life was meaningful. Your life mattered. Your story mattered. As for me, I am simply an elderly woman sitting quietly with a heart full of memories, some joyful, some painful, all precious. And as I look back across the years, I realize something that took me a lifetime to understand. A successful life is not measured by how much we gather. It is measured by how much love we leave behind. So before I go, please remember this. Love deeply, forgive freely, live fully, be kind, and never forget how precious this brief, beautiful gift called life truly is. Thank you for listening to my story. And wherever life takes you next, may your days be filled with peace, purpose, gratitude, and love. Goodbye, my friend, and may you never forget how much your life matters.